For high-functioning individuals, comparison often happens through LinkedIn updates, family expectations, or cultural milestones. Professional social media platforms highlight promotions and awards. This creates self-evaluative pressure even among objectively successful users. Exposure to professional networking content leads to the frequent comparison of achievements. These habits negatively affect well-being over time. Cultural norms around career stability and financial success reinforce these comparison processes. This divergence from a standard timeline contributes to of relative deprivation. This post explores how to stop measuring your worth by someone else's pace. You will learn to start honoring your own internal timeline. It's not secret that social comparison orientation is a key predictor of distress. Reducing this comparison improves mental well-being independent of your actual performance. Intentional disengagement from comparison-focused content buffers against declines in self-esteem. How you define success internally plays a stronger role in well-being than the actual timing of your achievements. You are not behind. You are on your own route. Comparison based on personal values is associated with better emotional regulation. Excessive comparison of life accomplishments activates stress-linked systems in the brain. Reduced comparison supports adaptive decision-making. Well-being improves when individuals disengage from rigid social timelines. Pursuing self-defined goals aligned with your own capacity leads to lasting resilience. Overcoming social comparison. Why the instinct to compare is misleading. Comparison is often driven by survival instincts related to belonging, status, and safety. Humans show a cognitive advantage for tracking social information connected to group membership. This reflects an evolved need to monitor social safety and status. Monitoring your rank is a fundamental human motivation, shaped by evolutionary pressures. These pressures relate to accessing resources and protection within a group. A perceived lack of social belonging increases your sensitivity to social rank cues. This reinforces comparisons as a protective response to environmental uncertainty. Social media and professional environments amplify these highlight reels. Digital platforms disproportionately display positive achievements. This increases upward social comparison. These displays negatively affect well-being even in high-functioning individuals. Network environments like LinkedIn encourage selective self-presentation, exposed to curated success signals instead of typical day-to-day experiences. The frequency of these digital comparisons predicts mental health outcomes more strongly than the total time you spend online. We compare our internal confusion to the curated progress of others. Individuals compare their private emotional states to the public behaviors of their peers. This leads to biased self-evaluations and feelings of inadequacy. Exposure to the positive feedback and achievements of others lowers self-esteem through these social comparison mechanisms. People systematically underestimate the struggles of others while overestimating their success. This creates misleading standards for your own self-assessment. The emotional toll of overcoming social comparison. Living on an external timeline leads to constant self-questioning. Frequent social comparison is associated with increased rumination. This pattern of repeatedly replaying how you measure up to others predicts higher levels of anxiety. Social comparison rumination is strongly linked to a fear of negative evaluation and psychological distress. Uncertainty about your social standing increases repetitive self-questioning. This behavior is associated with poorer self-reported mental health outcomes. Reclaiming your internal timeline reduces the burden of these persistent doubts. Shame and urgency often lead to burnout-driven decisions. Upward social comparison is linked to feelings of inadequacy. These feelings increase emotional exhaustion and burnout risk. Social comparison rumination is directly associated with feelings of inefficacy. Internalizing external expectations as personal goals is a process called introjection. This process is linked to reduced autonomy and a higher vulnerability to depression. You become less the master of your own mind when you outsource your goals to others. Always rushing or measuring results in a loss of joy. Persistent comparison and rumination are associated with reduced life satisfaction. These factors are the psychological foundations for intrinsic. Higher levels of burnout are associated with diminished positive affect. This reduces your capacity for exploration and creative thinking. Excessive self-monitoring driven by comparison reduces emotional vitality. True resilience requires the psychological flexibility to choose your own pace. Identifying the shift toward external validation. Identifying the signs of outsourcing your pace is essential for overcoming social comparison. You may feel anxious when someone your age reaches a milestone you have not yet achieved. Upward social comparison to age peers is consistently associated with increased anxiety and reduced self-esteem. This is particularly true when comparisons involve life milestones like career progress or relationships. Exposure to the achievements of peers on social media predicts anxiety through rumination mechanisms rather than objective circumstances. Frequent comparison rumination amplifies emotional reactions to others' success. This increases feelings of inadequacy even among individuals performing well by objective standards. You might find yourself chasing goals that do not excite you but serve to impress others. Pursuing goals driven by external validation rather than intrinsic interest is associated with lower well-being and higher stress. These introjected goals increase your vulnerability to burnout. Goals motivated by status seeking and impression management result in lower psychological need satisfaction. This stands in contrast to goals aligned with your personal values. A high social comparison orientation predicts endorsement of socially prescribed goals. This endorsement mediates the relationship between comparison and psychological distress. Decisions made out of a fear of falling behind indicate a loss of autonomy. Decision-making driven by fear-based social comparison is associated with emotional exhaustion and burnout. These choices rarely lead to improved outcomes. Uncertainty about your progress relative to others increases avoidance-based decisions. These patterns are linked to poorer mental health. Reduced psychological autonomy in goal selection is linked to greater depressive symptoms. This is especially prevalent when choices are made to meet perceived social expectations. Reclaiming your own timeline. A practical framework. Stepping out of the race is the first strategic move toward overcoming social comparison. Intentionally interrupting social media exposure or performing a digital detox is associated with lower burnout and improved well-being. Deliberate withdrawal from constant digital input supports self-reflection and emotional regulation, which directly counteracts comparison-driven urgency. Limiting social media use can improve life satisfaction and overall stress outcomes. You create the cognitive space necessary to turn inward and strengthen your internal systems by unplugging from external noise. You must ask what goals are actually yours to protect your professional capacity. Internalizing externally imposed goals is a process known as introjection, which is linked to rumination and reduced autonomy. Self-endorsed goals support psychological well-being and long-term stamina. Higher mindfulness is associated with a reduced reliance on external validation cues, supporting a clear differentiation between personal desires and socially prescribed expectations. A high social comparison orientation often leads to endorsed success criteria that increase psychological distress. Identifying your own values ensures you are not chasing a version of success that leads to depletion. Define your own milestones based on meaning rather than optics. Well-being is more strongly associated with value-consistent goal pursuit than with the speed or visibility of achievement. Satisfaction of psychological needs like autonomy and competence predicts success more reliably than external benchmarks. Digital detox strategies support value-based goal setting by reducing constant comparison cues that trigger the brain's stress-linked systems. Creating progress markers rooted in your own well-being protects your energy for sustainable leadership. Practice present-tense living to focus on showing up instead of catching up. Present moment awareness is associated with reduced rumination and greater psychological flexibility. Mindfulness-based interventions reduce burnout by shifting attention from future-oriented pressure to current experience. Present-focused engagement is linked to higher life satisfaction and lower stress. This approach recognizes that your timeline is layered rather than linear. You build lasting resilience by engaging fully with the current demands of your route. Strategies to stay grounded in a fast-paced world. Cultivating specific daily practices is essential to reinforce your own pace. Reflective journaling is associated with improved emotional regulation and greater clarity in decision-making. This practice supports psychological grounding during periods of intense social comparison. Exposure to natural environments consistently reduces stress and enhances attentional restoration. These environments support slower, self-paced cognitive processing. Establishing digital boundaries is also linked to lower stress and improved subjective well-being. These boundaries include intentions in social media use to protect your mental space. Structured rituals of self-reflection help you differentiate personal priorities from external demands. These practices increase self-awareness and psychological flexibility. Mindfulness-based self-reflection reduces rumination by strengthening present-moment awareness. This supports intentional alignment with your actual goals rather than socially prescribed ones. Reflection practices that emphasize the intentional release of non-essential demands improve emotional balance. Asking what is yours to carry allows you to let go of burdens that belong to others. Rehearsing affirmations reinforces self-worth and autonomy in the face of pressure. Self-affirmation practices are associated with increased psychological resilience and reduced threat reactivity. These statements help you cope with social comparison stress more healthily. Affirmations can buffer against stress and reduce maladaptive comparison processes. Positive statements aligned with your personal values support emotional regulation. Using statements like, "There is no such thing as late in a life that is mine," supports self-compassion under conditions of social evaluation. Reclaiming inner peace by overcoming social comparison. When you stop comparing your life to others, inner peace becomes more available. Lower engagement in social comparison is associated with higher psychological well-being. This shift occurs largely through increased self-compassion and reduced rumination. Self-compassion is positively associated with self-trust and emotional stability. These benefits are especially strong when individuals disengage from evaluative social contexts. Self-alignment practices increase autonomy and purpose in life. These elements form the core components of sustained inner peace. You begin to feel proud of progress that exists outside of arbitrary timelines. Value-consistent progress predicts well-being more strongly than externally benchmarked achievements. This includes growth rooted in autonomy and meaning rather than the speed of attainment. Reduced social comparison is associated with a clearer self-concept. You develop greater satisfaction with personal progress independent of peer milestones. Self-compassion fosters intrinsic pride by shifting evaluation from external comparison to internal standards. This allows you to celebrate achievements that align with your actual capacities. Your relationships improve as you stop seeing others as threats. Lower social comparison and higher self-compassion are associated with reduced envy. This shift leads to healthier interpersonal relationships and improved empathy. Social comparison increases perceptions of others as competitors. Self-compassion reduces threat-based social cognition and supports cooperative relating. Self-aligned mindsets are linked to stronger social bonds. You experience reduced interpersonal conflict when you see others as separate rather than as benchmarks for your own success. Reclaiming the narrative. Your life is a tapestry, not a checklist. Your journey toward overcoming social comparison requires a fundamental shift in perspective. A life of sustained achievement and fulfillment is the new standard. To reach it, you must move away from the rigid social timelines that fuel exhaustion. Take a moment for a final reflection. If I was not comparing myself to anyone, what would I choose next? This question helps you return to a state of integrated, reliable performance. There is no such thing as being behind. There is only forward on your own terms. When you align your choices with your inner system, you gain the self-sufficiency needed to thrive independently. You are not merely recovering from the pressure of external benchmarks. You are actively engaging in a transformative process to emerge stronger and more resilient than before. Your life is not a series of boxes to be checked off by a search. It is a complex tapestry of your unique values and experiences. If you are ready to stop managing the symptoms of stress and start building a system for lasting success, I invite you to take the next step. Join an upcoming live masterclass where we go over the tools you need to move your life forward. We will move beyond surface-level advice to help you create a personalized strategic methodology for your life and leadership. This is an investment in your enduring professional success and integrated capacity. You can also join our mailing list to never miss a new article.